Hi guys, and welcome to episode 3 of my new format of monthly vlog. So we'll start by talking about the storms, obviously, that we experienced here in the UK about the weekend of the 20th of February. Now we fared pretty well, as you can see, not too much in the way of damage, nothing obvious in a way. There's been a few small bits which I'll show you, but overall we fared quite well, much better up here in Lancashire than say the southwest, which got it pretty bad. And of course the media coverage with it being in the south of England was pretty severe as well, so everyone was expecting Armageddon, whereas up here it was actually just a typical winter storm, to be honest. So here's a little bit of footage that I took during it was on the 20th of February, Saturday 20th, to show you what it was like here. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice a differently coloured fence panel here. So that was obviously a victim of one of the storms that came through last weekend. Next to it was another one. There's a further one down the side of the house, and a fourth one just down here. It's back in place for the time being, but it's about to blow out again, so we're going to replace that one as well. So I'm going to be doing some fence painting over the next few weeks or months. Apart from that, the only other major damage was the roof coming off of our playhouse, unfortunately. So it actually sheared completely off. The sort of brackets, I mean, they're only made of plastic, but it broke them off completely. The only one that's still intact is that one, so that's what it should look like at all of these points. But they came off the roof. It's just on the floor next to it now. It's a ruins. So we've started to we've got over here it's always difficult to have a family garden and a garden that you're proud of, you know, that looks good and you're happy to show people on the internet, but it's a thing I'm trying to manage. So here is a storage box, and storage is key. So we've been going through, we're going to keep all this stuff. We've got rid of quite a bit more that lives there. Excuse me. And this is going to go now. This is wrecked, so we're going to get rid of that, which will free up some space. So not quite sure what we're going to do with that space yet. We'll clear all this out first and see what we're left with. I did wonder whether we could get hold of some more slabs and extend the patio a little bit. Don't know. My wife suggested getting some of those sort of fancy chairs that sort of dangle down from above, like on a bracket. So that sounds expensive, but we'll see. We'll get rid of this first, sort everything out, find a home for it, and take it from there. So I've been extremely fortunate not to have any plant damage at all, and the only one that did take a hit was this Sitka spruce here, which I actually have been meaning to take out, and I've been putting it off whilst it's been raining and wet and cold, and I'm glad I did, because when this fence panel blew out, this Sitka spruce really protected all the small trackies and ferns and little cordyline there below it. So if that wasn't there, then maybe it would have taken a bit more. I would have had some actual damage that I was worried about. This is, funny enough, it's just bounced back. It was, you know, it was a real angle like that. You know, it had gone from there to there as it was supporting the fence panel. You can see it is a bit wonky, but it's more or less bounced back. But that will be coming out now. It served its purpose. Well done, Sitka spruce. Shake your stem there. That will be coming out now. Here's how the Wollemi pine is looking after the recent trimming that I did at the top in the last video, episode 2. I'll link that in the description below. And this actually is the only other tree that suffered some damage during the recent storms. Now luckily it wasn't too bad. Basically, not quite sure where this was on the plant, but it came clean off. It's blown off. Quite amazing that the wind has just blown that off the tree somewhere. I think it was probably fairly low down in a way. I'm not quite sure how it's happened, but interesting nonetheless. And I definitely can't complain if that is the extent of my damage from these recent storms. Hopefully everyone watching this has fared similarly well. I do hope so anyway. I was a little worried about this cordyline because it's planted in this raised bed, and what that means is that the soil that it's got its, you know, biggest root ball in, or the main part of its root ball, is fairly light soil, and it has suffered before with, you can see it's got a bit of a bend in the trunk. That's where it's sort of started leaning, and I did go through a period of actually tying it to the barbecue there to prevent it from moving, but it seems to have fared really well in the recent storms, and it hasn't moved any further, so I'm really pleased with that. Quick update on the Washingtonia Robustas. As regular viewers will know, I plant these out every year in the greenhouse. At the back there you can see I've got loads, you know, I don't know, 50 seedlings. I select the biggest few each year, plant them out. And so far I've got a success rate of 0. Actually 0 I've got through winter without succumbing to the cold and wet. So this one is doing okay. A couple of leaves have died off. This one's been heavily damaged, and the main leaf itself has been severely compromised as well, but it isn't dead yet as far as I can make out, and that may pull through, which would be a first. So I'm not counting my chickens just yet. You know, I'd say it's 50-50 with that one. This one just across the way here, in a slightly more exposed position, as you can see, not looking great. This one has seen better days, and so with a gentle pull, it's still fairly solid actually. I expected that to spear pull, but it hasn't. So, but nonetheless, it's a goner, and I'm certain, and I will dig that up and replace it as soon as I'm comfortable doing so. It is very tempting on a nice sunny day like this. It's a bit cloudy actually. Nice bright spring day. It's tempting to say, do you know what? I'm going to get everything out. I'm going to set up the garden for the summer. I'm going to plant some bedding. I'm going to do this, do that. And then just around the corner, you're going to get a frost or some snow or more, you know, another storm with some strong winds. It's not a good idea to do that. If the sun's shining, just wait until it warms up a bit. So the last of my experimental Washingtonia Robustas is here, and it's nicely sheltered by this Trachycarpus fortunii, which is directly, it's got a leaf directly above it, so that's acting as a really nice windbreak, and you know, stops too much rain. If we get under here and look up, it's going to be quite difficult, or you know, most of the rain is going to be stopped, prevented from coming down onto this palm. So that's doing really well. Obviously it's got some damage from older leaves, but it's got two decent leaves, and the central spear nice and firm as well. So I'm hopeful that actually that one's got maybe 75% chance of making it through unscathed, or that's just surviving really, and putting out good growth next year. And if it does that, then that will actually put on some more diameter in the trunk, some more girth, and has a even stronger chance of surviving next year again in that position. Now clearly if it survives a series of winters, I've got an issue because it's too close to this Trachycarpus. But the reason I've done that is because I'd just be happy if it survived through one winter, and I don't have to replace it next year. So if it does get too big, I can dig it up and move it and do something else with it, put it somewhere else. But what I might actually do this year is put another one there, maybe one the other side as well, knowing that actually that's a really nice bit of shelter. In the first two episodes of this new vlog series, I've cut to VTs of palms and exotic plants that I've seen on my travels in London last summer, and no exception this time. I've got another little VT. It's the last one, unfortunately, of my travels in London, but we went to visit Kew Gardens. So here is some plants, not actually inside Kew, but actually I think one of them might be one of the clips, but it's mostly plants near to Kew Gardens. We enjoyed Kew, but parking was an absolute nightmare. Really, really tricky. And in fact, we almost gave up on the tickets that we'd had to purchase in advance online, and almost drove home because we just couldn't park. We were probably looking for 45 minutes. The car park that Kew have themselves is very small and inadequate, and by about 10 a.m. it had filled up We were one of the first cars that actually couldn't get in, I think. Or maybe we weren't, maybe it filled up even earlier, but we drove around the nearby area for half an hour, 45 minutes, and virtually everything's on street. All of the on-street parking virtually is for residents only, so that was no good for us. There was a very small amount of pay and display, but no one was moving from it. So in the end, I dropped off the family at the gate, and then I drove about a mile, maybe a bit further out, south of Kew, and parked up. And then I walked / jogged / ran back to Kew, because I knew that by the time I got there, they'd have already been there for half an hour or longer, and would be starting to get fed up, because actually it's me that was interested in the gardens, and that was the reason we were going. So it didn't work out very well. I did manage to get a couple of hours there. We managed to go around the Temperate House and the Palm House. Both were great, but the Palm House was something else. It was brilliant. And I did create a video, film a video, and I'll link that in the description below if you haven't seen it. It's you know, a wonder. It doesn't do it justice, but if you've never been, have a look at that video. If you have been, then have a look, and it'll remind you of how fantastic it is, and how you should, if you can, get back there and have another look.
Now, it hasn't really felt much like spring with all the storms of late, but it is early spring and there are signs of it in the garden. As you can see now, lots of spring flowering bulbs are coming up, which is great, a really exciting time. Another sign is that the garden waste fortnightly bin collection is about to restart. But one thing I would like to say is that I think it's disgusting that I need to pay Blackburn and Darwen Council £30 for them to collect 19 or 20 times per year. In this day and age, when recycling and the environment is so important, why is there a gardening tax? All it does is encourage people to either not garden and just pave their property, or they just put their garden waste in the general waste bin, where it's, you know, it could be composted, but it doesn't. If it goes in general waste, then it just goes to landfill. I think it's a disgrace, and let me know if you agree. Do you pay a gardening tax for your bin to be collected where you live? Feel free to name and shame your council, just like I've done with Blackburn and Darwen. Anyway, rant over. I'll try and keep it light from now on.
Now, in the last video, I mentioned that I was going to try growing some bedding from seed this year. It's too expensive for me anyway to buy plug plants, you know, en masse, or enough to fill the borders at least. So I'm growing from seed, and I've been shopping. So let me show you what I've got. So first up is this. Now I struggle with Latin. So Grandiflora single mixed. Let's go with that one. And when something says mixed, it means it probably doesn't look like the picture on the pack, which is a shame because that looks great and very exotic looking to me. It flowers year after year. Fantastic. Sort of that is a requirement for me. I don't want to have to dig anything up or do anything special overwintering. I just want it to come back up by itself. It says 99p there. Actually, it was half price in Wilko. Don't know exactly what half price equates to for 99p. That'd be 49 and a half, wouldn't it? So don't know exactly what it came to, but a bargain nonetheless. And I'm going to sow outdoors. Here we are in March. March to July seems like a strange period, very long period, doesn't it? So maybe this is going to be rubbish actually, because what I looked at was the flowering period, because I want something that's going to flower all summer and into autumn, and that June to September, you know, what's that, 4 months, that seems good to me. But maybe I have to stagger the sowing, because clearly it's not going to flower in June if you don't plant it until July, or don't sow it until July. So realizing my mistake already. However, maybe I'll stagger the sowing to get a succession of plants. But I think that looks quite nice. If you've grown this before, or if you grow it every year, let me know. Let me know what you think. So that's the first one. And then, I know I said seeds, but I've got some bulbs. I was in ALDI last night. Really busy on a Friday night, funnily enough. I don't know why. And £1.69, you get 3 bulbs. You know, ALDI is known for its value, and it doesn't seem fantastic to me, but obviously prices have risen a lot in the past couple of years, last year in particular, so it's probably a good deal, and I know that ALDI are quite hot on quality as well, so I think it will be okay, although that that doesn't look quite the best to me, that the end of that bit of growth. So this is I can't pronounce that. Hopefully you can read that. Have a go at pronouncing it yourself. If you're any good at pronouncing Latin, then congratulations. So this looks, again, quite tropical, I think. Plant in March to May. I thought, great, it's almost March. It's like March in a couple of days. But it actually says, having read it a bit closer, paying a bit more attention, it says, plant in March to May in well-drained soil after the chance of frost has passed. Well, that's not going to be in March, is it? That's probably not going to be in April. You know, potentially the second half of April, but it's still a bit of a risk. May should be fine, and you are planting these a few inches deep as well, so a ground frost wouldn't hurt it too much, but bit misleading really, and they're selling it at the end of February, so what am I supposed to do? Just hold on to it, until I always like to get things in the ground early, so I'm going to check the forecast and make a judgment on whether I put them in nice and deep now. If they're nice and deep, then that will offer some protection. So I've got 2 packs of these anyway. They are quite approximate height 100 centimeters. That's about, give or take, that's about a meter. So what I'm gonna do is put them in this border where it's hard to see, but it does it's about a foot down, or almost a foot anyway. It's a foot below the grass, so something that is only 30 centimeters in height, it just doesn't look very good. So it'll be about 2 foot in the air then. That'll look quite nice all along. Well, it's not going to be all along there, I've only got 6 tubers, but probably along this bit, or I haven't quite decided. I'll figure that out. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, comment as well. Comments are great. I really do enjoy replying to comments from you guys. And I also have some sunflower seeds to sow, which I forgot to mention then. I took loads from a plant last year, and we have some which are from a packet as well. And on that note, I will leave you with some pictures or some videos of our sunflowers from last year. Thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are.